I have no idea who would benefit from this particular video, but I have been feeling the necessity to address spiritual, esoteric things and situations that are way beyond the, seemingly to me, the need for anyone to know. But then why do I know it? So maybe in conjunction with that, I'm not sure, but there's also a concept that I wanted to address and make it crystal clear. You know how a seed, you give it sunlight and the rain or the water and excuse me, all of these ingredients which are necessary for a seed to grow and develop and to become a tree or a flower or whatever it's going to become. Scientifically, you could take 1,000,000 seeds and watch every single one of them, and when the seed matures into a tree or a flower or whatever it is, you could through analysis figure out how much sunlight over the lifetime of the seed, how much sunlight, how much water, how many ingredients, nutrients in the soil, etc., etc. You can calculate all this out. But there's another thing that is sometimes forgotten, and that is the aspect of time. And so consequently, you could take all of this stuff, the sunlight, and like a magnifying glass, you intensify it and it burns things up. So you could take a tree that takes 100 years to mature and in one day supply all the sunlight and water and nutrients and everything. But I'm here to tell you that seed is not going to grow. It's going to disintegrate with the sunlight from its intensity. It's going to flood itself and drown. The nutrients, who the heck knows what's going to happen. One thing's for absolutely sure. That seed is not going to last a single second before it's demolished. It is not going to grow into anything because time, which is a factor, is being ignored. Now it's possible to maybe speed things up a little bit here, there, whatever, but you're not going to change the way things work by simply piling on all of these things. Do some of you watching this video see where I'm going with this? Spiritually speaking, you're not going to be able to sit down in a Sangha group and listen to some guru teach you about the secrets and the mysteries of the life and everything else. You're not going to read books. You're not going to do this and that. You're not going to automatically discover the things that are missing in your life and become instantly enlightened. All of that crap that is taught to you are lies. They are charlatans. They are certainly not enlightened or inspired gurus that would ever teach someone that there is a way to shorten the distance from ignorance to enlightenment. It's not going to happen. So that's why I say in this particular video, I have no clue who could possibly benefit from it. Nevertheless, I'm going to throw it out there. Now, for me personally, how I have kind of benefited in my life is when I receive things that in my heart I know is true, but I don't understand it. I don't discard it. I don't discard anything, but I set it aside in my mind. And at some point in the future, it may be the ingredient or the trigger or something that causes a paradigm shift to be able to go into the next stage of growth. So maybe what I'm going to talk about is the impetus for someone to go to the next stage of spiritual growth. So, yeah. So what I'm going to talk about are different stages of development, spiritually speaking. So it's kind of like, when you're sleeping at night. Unless you're in a, boy, I can't remember the name of it. It'll come to me later. But where you're dreaming and you're aware that you're dreaming. Unless it's that kind of a dream, you're unconscious to this plane of existence, this physical plane of existence. And where you're at in the dream is entirely real to you until you wake up. And then when you wake up, that particular realm doesn't exist anymore. Nevertheless, in many situations, people can remember their dreams. And yet, that particular dream isn't real, but yet it appeared real when they were there. But this particular reality is what they absolutely know is real. But they absolutely knew that one was real when they were there. So do you see how there's different stages? There's a continual thread of, I don't want to say mortality, but there's a consciousness of the soul, of the essence of the soul that is eternally in all places at once, but with time we're restricted to this particular reality in our waking moments, even though we remember the dream that we might have had last night or that we might have had several years ago. So what is beyond the dream stage, this particular physical realm, and what is in the next spiritual advancing realm, shall I say? Well, that's where you get to the concept of non-duality. Most people that read about non-duality or study or listen to the gurus teach about it or whatever, they aren't enlightened yet to the understanding of what non-duality really is. They understand it from a maybe an analytical point of view or a scholarly point of view, but they don't intuitively know it. They don't know it as being part of it, so to say. It's like, I'm sorry to bring this up constantly, but in a lot of my videos I do, but it's like explaining what a lemon tastes like, and the person that's explaining it has never tasted a lemon. And then, of course, when they eat the lemon, they know because they're part of the lemon. So what is the next step from this particular physical reality, spiritually speaking? Well, that would be the reality of non-duality. And so I think it's kind of funny and hypocritical for the advocates of non-duality because they sort of act as though I don't want to say they're better than everyone else or whatever, but it's like they have a chip on their shoulder that they're so much smarter and aware, etc., etc. And in reality, they are. But it's just another step in the spiritual progression. So what am I saying? It's like an enlightened, I'm sorry, I had something in my eye. It's like the dream state to this physical state to the non-duality state. And what is the non-duality state? It is very, very similar to what Buddha was teaching about his enlightenment. It's the experiential being of part of everything. And when I say part of everything, I mean you realize that everything isn't filled with parts and parcels, but that in fact it's all one thing. And the gurus of thousands of years ago have said, well, that's like trying to dissect the difference between a drop and the ocean. And the drop is just part of the ocean. Or they'll even say the waves on the ocean, and it's like one wave talking to the another wave. You know, I'm independent of the ocean. But there's no independence. The wave and the ocean are the same. But when you extrapolate, and not from a learned position, but from an enlightened position, these people that teach non-duality from an experiential point of view, from an enlightened point of view, have experienced and are currently experiencing being part of the reality of being it. Everything is one. But here's where I talk about the hypocrisy of that. They will condemn a person by saying, well, what, in Sangha or in a spiritual group or whatever, and say, well, who are you? And a person will say, well, I'm a truck driver and this and that. And of course, the classroom will laugh and everything. Ha, 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 you're not a truck driver. You're not even a human body. You don't know what you are. You're ignorant. You're unaware of your surroundings and what they are. You're unaware of the enlightened state of being, that everything is one, and in fact, you're it. But in reality, what's happened is the people have advanced from ignorance, going, oh, they are in an enlightened state of view where they're going, oh, wait a second, I'm not a truck driver. I, in fact, am everything. You see how it's like going from dream to the physical to the enlightened state of reality. And then they cling to the next step and go, oh, wait a second, I'm everything. But that's just another stage. They're clinging to that. But, okay, so, and is that a real state of being? Is it a real situation where they have experienced transcendence and that they really do experience being one with everything? Yeah, it's true. The problem with that is when you get through that stage of experiential understanding, and most people never get beyond that. A handful of people on the planet at any given time may. But when they get through that, the problem arises when you realize there in fact is no thing. There is no universe, there is no sunlight, there's no ocean, and there's no waves. Therefore, you cannot be part of something when in fact there is nothing. Now you could say, or they could argue, well, true, Everything is an illusion, but I'm a part of that illusion. But therein lies the problem. There's not an illusion either. There's nothing for you to be a part of. Shunyata is a word that from Sanskrit writing that is trying to define this next stage of reality. And when I'm explaining these realities to you, I'm not telling you from a textbook writing or something like that. I'm telling you from a point of view of experience. Like, in other words, like, I'm not sitting in your living room right now, but you're actually seeing me on your television, cell phone, or whatever it is, but I'm not there. I'm here. That is a different sort of transcendence. It's like that, where I'm not there, but it certainly appears like I'm there, and you experience me being there on your TV talking to you, but I'm not there. I'm here. But you can experience me there, but you also know that I'm not there, that I'm here. So what I'm telling you is, from an enlightened point of view, when people are enlightened, they experience both being here and being there in your living room. They actually experience both things equally. It's not like one is stronger than the other. It's absolutely real. I still can't think of the name of the damned dream where you are awakened in the dream. But I've had many of those. Anyways, so when you, I would like to say it's the final stage of enlightenment or awareness, but that would be laughable if I were to say that, because you keep going on these stages, and so I will call it the last stage, and the only reason I'm calling it the last stage is because that's the last stage that I currently experience at this particular time. And that is the stage of Shunyata. When you transcend reality, where this argument with non-duality and everything, when you transcend non-duality, and you, by the way, you cannot transcend non-duality without earnest prayer to Brahman. And the reason for that is because Shiva, or Satan, isn't there either. He's on a plane of existence of non-duality, or basically in between different realities, coexisting here and the astral plane and all of these other, there are other levels. But if you are driving towards becoming one with God, the Creator God, then the stage where there is nothing, there's nothing to be a part of. Therefore, non-duality isn't true, because there isn't any duality. There is no non-duality. There is nothing. But there is your awareness. And the only reason there's awareness is because there is an essence of you that is still aware. And even though it's aware, there's nothing to be aware of other than itself. And the only reason it's aware of itself is because it's still like remembering your dream when you were dreaming and now you're awake. Well, you still have a connection to your life here on this physical plane of existence. You still remember your connection to the non-dual reality that is transcending the physical reality. You still remember the dream you had. So you're existing in several planes of existence simultaneously, but only in memory. You can't do anything in this Shunyata reality because there isn't anything to do. You can't do anything. I'd like to say it's total darkness, but it isn't, because otherwise there would be no awareness even. But you remember all these things, and in your mind you can, well, when I say mind, there's no mind, but in your awareness you can think back on all these things. And yet there's nothing to cling to. There's no darkness, there's no light, there's nothing to cling to. There's nothing to be a part of. There is in fact nothing except yourself. And when I say yourself, the essence of yourself. Now, herein lies God enlightenment. At that stage of reality, and at that stage of reality, when this booming, thunderous, and I'm only using words. I'm not saying that that's the way it really is. I'm just using words. This booming, thunderous presence of Brahman appears out of nothingness and communicates with you. There is no possibility of ignorance in this stage of reality. It isn't possible to be ignorant. And so when I tell you there is a separation between myself and God, God is speaking to me not as himself or herself, but God is speaking to me as an individual, sovereign from God. And I can communicate likewise to this deity, this creator, this God that is the epitome of love. And it's taking place in a realm of nothingness. And when I say realm, it's not even a realm, because it's nothingness. Because really, in reality, if you understand the Vedic teachings, or if you understand Brahma, for instance, the reality of nothingness that is prior to all existence, then you will understand that nothing in reality can escape nothingness. Nothing. It's not possible to escape Brahman, the great void, or in the opposite, the great. Some have defined it as the uncreated essence of all things. I'm stumbling for words, but it's pregnant with everything, yet nothing has come to birth yet. Well, inside that, and there is no inside outside, but again, I'm using words. But in that particular situation, you exist, if you ever got there, and you can't get there, by the way, without prayer, open, so to say, invitation from Brahman. You can't get there because Shiva is not there. Satan is not there. This is why in Christianity it is taught that it says, and no unclean thing can enter into the kingdom of God. But when they use those words, again, those are just words. There is no such thing as a kingdom. But that's the best thing that we can relate to. So in this kingdom of God, if you should ever get there, you will see that you are not God and God is not you. And there is a separation, and there can be a union through invitation, but the union, being one with God, is very similar to a husband and wife being married. Excuse me. It doesn't mean that there's only one individual, but in marriage there is one union. And so becoming one with God, it's one union. It's sort of like a teamwork thing where there's absolutely no, if you ever get to that stage of reality, there's absolutely no possibility of betrayal. There's absolutely no possibility. And why do I say there's no possibility? Because the heart, the soul, the essence does have no desire to deviate from whatever God is, love. There's no way to deviate from that. But to say, and I've talked about this in some prior videos, to say that it's a boring situation or a very smug or very reverent. I'm using all these words to hopefully define in such a way to some people that crave excitement and fun and partying and all that kind of stuff. I'm hoping to convey to them that it isn't that way there. Because think about this. Whatever is the most fun and exciting thing, assuming you are not evil, in other words, a lot of people might have fun killing people. Well, nobody's allowed in this particular kingdom, or if that's your proclivities to do that sort of thing, you're never going to get to that stage of reality. So you weed out the people that are evil like that. So again, falling back on the original concept of why I'm making this particular video, I experience this just like a dream where you're awake. And it's a very bizarre situation. And that's why in that particular situation, people can talk very seriously about chakras and about this and about that. And my attitude is like, well, I'll humor that idea and that thought because I know it's real on the level or the realm or wherever it is they are coming from. It's real there, just like it's it's real that you can fly when you're in a dream. I get that. And so I'm not trying to belittle someone that's at the level of talking about chakras, but I kind of chuckle because I recognize that none of that has any validity value whatsoever, because it's just another level of participating within the illusion of wherever it is that they're at that particular time. And so if it's real to you at the level of where you're at, then continue to do that. But just recognize that when I'm talking about these different stages of reality, it is as profound a change as waking up in the morning. It's as profound a change as walking around at nighttime when the sun has set and it's dark. And then when noontime comes the next day and the sun is up and there's no clouds, that is an incredibly profound difference between night and day. And the only way to experience them both simultaneously is to, maybe you could be walking out at daytime and cover your eyes and then close your eyes too and try to walk around, but that's not really experiencing it because you feel the heat of the sun on your face and etc., etc. But it's an incredibly profound difference from one stage of reality to the other. And when you are experiencing them all simultaneously, it's a very difficult way to exist in many ways. I would presume, I don't know if it's true, because I don't know how other people react when they become enlightened. But I would presume that this would explain why some people are just like catatonic. They're just like in meditation, and you talk to them and they don't talk back. And, you know, some people would think, well, they're just putting on some sort of a fake pretend or whatever. But I'm here to tell you, they're not. If these people are really experiencing what I'm talking about, then no, it's not fake. They just aren't capable of dealing with several realities simultaneously. They're not being able to cope with those sorts of things. And so they may sit there in meditation and not communicate with the rest of the world in the least degree. I would find that very easy to do if it weren't for the reason that, for some reason, I feel compelled to make videos. And so I can't do that while I'm in a meditative state. And I'm married. And as a person that's married, I must absolutely interact with this physical reality. There is no other way. And this is why people get divorced. I don't know if I covered this, but I'm going to say it again if I didn't cover it. But I was talking to my wife, this was probably a month ago, and I was asking her about enlightenment, and I was talking to her if she thought a person that becomes enlightened, if a marriage could survive that sort of situation, or if a person was already enlightened, could they get married to a person that wasn't enlightened, or even get married, period, end of story, and expect that marriage to work out. And she said absolutely not. That if a person were to become enlightened in a marriage, there's almost zero possibility that the marriage could survive. So this would explain why Buddha left his wife, etc., etc. And the only reason my wife is able to tell me these things is because I'm able to, by the grace of God, interact in this reality and in an enlightened stage, and at the same time stay married. And why do I stay married? Or how does that work out, basically? It works out because her and I met in high school, and we not only fell in love, but we were best of friends, and still are best of friends. We like being with each other. It's a fun thing. And so at the beginning stages of this spiritual explosion of enlightenment sort of thing, she tolerated it, and and she even said she didn't know if divorce was, around the next corner. And that was that way for 3-4 years at least before I was able to deal with this physical reality in such a way that I wasn't so aloof, if you will. Because as I keep saying it, and I'll say it again, it's incredibly difficult to maintain your sanity while you're in two places at once. And so when you're at 3 or 4 places at once, it is even more difficult. So let me explain one thing. And you can believe me or not, I really don't give a damn whether you believe me or not. It requires so much effort. Again, to who does this benefit? I have no idea. So, but that's why I'm telling you these things. It requires an incredible amount of effort on my part to talk to you in this video. Because my state of mind, how I'm communicating to you, is it's like I'm dragging this reality or this existence from another coexisting reality into this physical reality and communicating this to you. But how do I feel right now? I feel like, let me pause for a minute, because this is how I feel. This is how I feel. I feel like this. And then I have to absolutely force myself to coexist in this reality, because it's like you just drift off to this other reality, and it's really bizarre. But for me to say, oh well, because this physical reality is the kingdom of Satan, and it really is like hell essentially in many respects. For me to go, oh, I can't wait till I die because I hate this reality, then that would be another indication that that person is not enlightened, because in fact it is incredibly exciting to be in this reality where things are so radical, things are so incredibly, shockingly bizarre. The abutment of hatred and love and the mysteries, if you will, of what's going to happen, because time is a factor in this reality. The shifting of things that are taking place on a constant, and it to me it's exciting. I definitely would not want to spend all eternity here. Definitely not. But while I'm here, I'm not going to be ungrateful and think that, well, I really hope that this is over because I can't stand this reality. I don't think that way. And maybe that has partly to do with I've been blessed with such a exciting life. A career as a firefighter doesn't get much more exciting. And as a fast motorcycle rider, and dealing with all sorts of things, and being with my best friend, which is my wife, and having 4 children that I absolutely love. Not to mention my younger brother, Gordon. I mean, there's a guy that, just like me, he has spent his entire life spiritually on a quest, but we are on different paths entirely. But even though we're on different paths, we can, I don't know how to explain it. Well, let me explain it this way. There's many things that I have questions about, and I will talk to him. I'll call him up and find out his point of view on things, because he is on a different path. And he can tell me, and vice versa. There's things, well, I'll never experience the things he has. And likewise, he'll never experience the things I have. But when we communicate with each other on a basis of love, then we can relate to these different things and exponentially expand your awareness of the reality in which you're in, or the reality of which you're discussing. I'm going to close this video because it's off the charts bizarre. I get that. And I can't, again, I will say, I don't have a clue who this would benefit. Curiosity killed the cat. I don't know. It's it is incredibly exciting. It is incredibly, again, like I said, it's a struggle to talk, because it's like the realm at which I feel a presence, where I'm dragging it out of right now. It's like it is drawing me with such power and strength, and it's like just dragging me with chains and everything back to this reality. Or this tie is, it's like a rubber band that is stretched so tight, and it's like I just want to give up and just, and then like my physical body just turns off, and then my spirit is there, you know. And it's like so hard to drag myself back. But that's right now, because I'm talking about spiritual things. But when I'm out in my art studio or in my shop doing welding or woodworking or whatever, then it's not so hard, because I'm in the present moment and I'm thinking about cutting the wood or painting or what. My mind is off of that. Even though in an instant I'm thinking about things, it's not this powerful draw, this tension. It's like this super powerful rubber band, and it requires superhuman strength to communicate in a physical sense while you're in this other reality. And you can do that. It's like, I assume, I don't know, because I don't know how other people are, but I assume through samadhi what is taking place for other people. I know what it is like for me, but in a state of samadhi, real samadhi, I'm not talking about the fake stuff. The reason they are in this seemingly catatonic situation where they're just like, you know, they're like zoned out, and it's like the ultimate of, it's beyond meditation. It is the ultimate of all ultimates, and they call it samadhi. Well, I presume the reason they are acting that way, or catatonic, if you will, is because the tension that is between the two, it's just like they just, I give up, you know. In an instant, you just give up. And then the physical body, it's still here, but the spirit, it's there. It's like 99% there and 1% here. And the only thing it can do here is just meditate. And other people think, wow, this person is really concentrating heavily on meditating, and they're in a state of samadhi. No, they're not. They've given up. They've thrown in the towel. The body is just doing what the body does when there's nobody there, man. There's nobody home. And so the person is just sitting there in a state of catatonic, and it is just like, they're not doing anything. You can't communicate with them or anything. They're not struggling hard. They're not doing anything. They're not even there. Because it is like, it is like love a billion times what you can almost imagine love. And that love is the rubber band drawing you to that state of samadhi. And you just want to be there, because it's so comforting. But of course, you can't talk in videos. You can't make videos in that state of being. So you have to force yourself to communicate. Anyways, if this benefited someone, great. But it is, this is the first video in my entire life where I've gone off the beaten path into bizarro land, so to say. So yeah, I'll talk to you later, and I love you, and I really hope that take it to heart, the issue about time and a seed, and that you can't give it everything it needs to develop in one day. Take that to heart and recognize that time is a factor. And don't discount that concept of time. And if you don't discount it, then you won't be disturbed. You won't be anxious. You won't be frustrated. You won't be any of these things. You'll know that all things are perfect. It's like some people are young and they're spiritual and they want to make their mark in life, and they feel like they have the potential to become wealthy or this or that. Well, then do it. Because you can't avoid these sorts of things and get to the stage of reality that you're going to eventually have to get to anyways, because if you love God, just recognize that time is a factor. And so don't be distraught if things are not happening at the speed at which you think they should happen. Just recognize that they can happen, and in fact, they will happen for you. If not in this life, another life. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.